auto sequence start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Mak Barton. Happiness is connecting with your community.
Okay, Mak Barton, thanks so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you're based in where, Boston? Is that right?
No, I was just in Boston. I go to Berkeley for my master's. I was just there over the summer, but I'm based in Maryland.
Maryland, okay,
Yeah.
okay. And you are a music teacher and social media influencer, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
What? It's high school music? Is that what
High
you teach?
school, yep.
Yeah.
So I wasn't bored enough, so,
You wanted a challenge, right?
Right. I just make my life a little more interesting.
Yeah, there you go. What started this whole social media thing and being kind of an influencer? How did that get all started?
Kind of just for fun. I have a severe case of RBF. So I started propping my phone up to try to check myself about that, because I've been told that what I'm thinking and what's on my face don't always align. So like I'll be someone's talking to me and I think I'm genuinely listening, but my face is going. So I started popping up my phone, and then in student teaching we have to record ourselves. It was my first year. Like, let me just, I need to workshop some stuff. So let me just, whatever, see how that goes. And, you'd listen back, be like, oh, that worked, or that didn't work. And then you'd keep listening and be like, this is actually really funny. I forgot that good moment happened. Or, that kid actually, like, I didn't get the joke before, but I got it now. So it kind of just unfolded like that. And then I was like, I could probably post these, and this is actually really cool. And it kind of just has been spiraling out of control since then.
Wow. So for people who don't know, you have to walk us through that. You have to record yourself as a student teacher. Is that right? Before to kind of.
Yeah. So
Okay.
When you're student teaching, at least in my experience, you record yourself while you're teaching to kind of, it's for personal reflection, but also for like your professors to see like how your lesson went, how that kind of all laid out. It's really a cool tool. I learned a lot just from watching myself, being like, oh, well, I thought in the moment it went this way, but actually when I look back at it, it went way better or way worse, or kind of things like that. So I think that's like most people's experience, but not too many people do it while they're actually teaching. That's not really a common practice.
Okay. That's not really, but you've done that and found that really, you catch some of those moments.
Oh yeah.
Really,
I mean,
yeah.
I feel like just because of that, my teaching has grown a lot, because I do look back and I do see what's worked, what hasn't worked. But yeah, they say the darndest things. And
Do you find that kind of natural capture kind of helps out in the social media aspect and world? Do people kind of comment on your posts and say, "Oh, I've been there," or other teachers?
yeah, I think I've gotten a lot of response. The general response to it has been like positive. Being like, yeah, teaching high school is so crazy. Like you could never fully explain what being a teacher is like, especially being a music teacher. It's such a niche little area that you could never fully describe it to other people who have never lived it. But yeah, I think the naturalness of it. I don't record. That's a big question that I get, is like, oh, do you just like set up a camera and record yourself all day long? No, that is not the case at all. What you see is like maybe a recording of like 2 minutes of one class period, or so you get to they act like that all the time. That's another question that I've gotten, is like, oh, do they just act like that because of the camera? No, that is them all the time.
At first, did you tell them they were getting recorded, or did you just say, just kind of capture those natural moments?
No, I told them. They were always fully aware.
Yeah.
I also told them like when I started posting them, and they were elated.
I was going to ask, what do they think about it? Did they give you a hard time about being on social media? And
they think it's the coolest thing ever. They'll always like try to listen for themselves. To them, it's like, oh, they're famous.
right.
People are hearing them. No, they think it's really cool. And I think it's also ironically, because we've all been in school. Like
Sure.
we all remember our teachers, like genuinely, if we saw them in a grocery store, we would be like, what are you doing
Right.
outside of school?
Right. It's the
Why?
real world. It's crazy.
You're a person? What do you mean?
Mhm.
But I think it's really helped in that regard as well, because they're like, oh, she's a human being. She doesn't just live here
Yeah.
at school. Got it.
Right. You don't go into a closet somewhere at night and go.
Right. I don't have a cot in a different room somewhere. But honestly, I think it's helped me connect with them that much more. Just because they get to see me being a person, but also they get to see other people's feedback of me. Fortunately, I've gotten a ton of positive feedback. People being like, oh, I'm going to try this, or you helped me out so much. So they got to see like, oh, maybe she actually does know what she's talking about. So that's been really cool to see and experience.
Do you think that breaks down too that whole stigma between kids and, teachers, like, either afraid of a teacher or not knowing how to communicate with them or approach them? It seems to me like it would really break those barriers down and allow the kids to kind of have a better relationship with you as a teacher.
Oh, 100%. I think that also you don't have to have social media to kind of break that wall down. Even showing them that side of you, of still being professional. I don't post, I have a personal page. It's just like for my friends and my family, my people. I view it more as like a professional working type page. But yeah, I think how you approach social media, or even how you just approach regular conversation, can absolutely break that wall down in a way that's still professional, but a way that, like you said, allows them to see that side of you, that you become way more approachable about actual human things.
And I kind of think as a teacher too, you have to try new things, right? You have to kind of see what works and how kids respond to certain things, because it's a tough job and you have to really kind of hold their attention and really fight for it sometimes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Especially now, but I think that's always been the case. Especially we have 90-minute class periods. So it is a lot of just keeping them alive and keeping myself alert, and some filler activities between things. We'll all take a walk around the school together just to stay keep our brains in one piece. But yeah, absolutely. I think opening up, getting them comfortable enough to speak in general, by them being able to see that part of me opens them up to kind of that kind of conversation. But even the on task conversation, it's opened them up so much more, just because they're used to that in my room. That's really awesome. Kids get really excited about music in class just because I didn't separate how music and life are, because they go together.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's interesting. I mean, I think you really have to kind of get their attention and involved in what you're teaching, and there's certain ways to do that. I think I commend you, because there's teachers like that are really special, because you find ways to connect what you're teaching to real life. And then when you're involved too, whether it be with social media or responding to them and having real conversations, I think it only strengthens that relationship.
100%. 100%.
There's a lot of madness going on, like with education, and people talk about this and that, and everybody has an opinion about teaching and education. From a teacher's perspective, what worries you today? Like, what is your biggest concern right now as a teacher?
I on a larger scale, I think not enough people vote in local elections. Everybody runs to the polls about the presidential elections and the governor elections, but I think it's really important to really put that same effort and energy into your local government, because really they have such a, whether we realize it or not, they have such a large impact on our day-to-day lives. And we just kind of, like I said, we kind of just wait until, in 4 years I have to vote for this person for president, 4 years to vote for this person for president, and so on and so forth. But they dictate how much funding goes into the school system. They dictate transportation. And it, depending on the area, that could make or break how much involvement a student can have. Especially for me, I have all my things are after school. Right now we're doing the musical, and there's kids who maybe if we had a better public transportation system would be able to do things like that, but their parents work 2 or 3 jobs, so no one can pick them up. They have to rely on other people for rides. And that's just a couple of examples, but it's really important to go vote locally and really dive in deep into what is education important to whoever candidate. But even in the classroom, I would say the biggest battle is the attention span. Mine, theirs, we're all just so used to things roll. Like we can just scroll past and do whatever we want when we want it. And that dopamine rush just kills. So I think it's being aware of that and not necessarily knocking it, but trying to work with it. You don't have to dance in front of them and, keep things so, what's the word I'm looking for? So like constantly
Just
moving.
Entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not entertaining. But I think just acknowledging it and being able to like work with that is really important. I think, that's probably the biggest battle that I face in the classroom is the attention span thing.
How do you handle like the cell phone thing? Do they have them in class? Do you take them up, or is that a problem in class where they're like constantly on their phones? Or
definitely used to be. My school system just in the past year and a half or so implemented no phones. At the middle school level, I think it's no phones at all, like in the hallway, in the cafeteria, anything. At the high school level, they can have them. They just can't have them out during class. And there's a whole system that we have like a phone zone in the front of the room. Some teachers do it to where like when you walk in, your phone goes into the phone zone and it stays there. I kind of do it as if I see it, all right, put it up in the phone zone. If you refuse to, then I'll call whoever and they come pick it up or whatever. I think since they've implemented that, I've been able to, honestly, I think it's opened the classroom space up more. I think even in the silly stuff and the community building stuff, it's made a huge difference. So I'm a big thumbs up girl on any cell phone policy. I think that's really great for all of us.
Do you find that when they don't have them out, are they? Can you tell a difference? Are they zoned in to you after? I mean, without having that access, can you really tell that they're concentrating on what you're teaching?
Oh, 1,000%. Taking away even the temptation. So my thing is like, it can't even be on your person. I need to see that it's going into your book bag. But we're all like that though. Like there's so many, even me, like there's so many outside of school problems that, I need to just contact. This person is talking to me about this and this, and this, and this, and this. If my phone is on my desk on the other side of the room, I'm way more likely to be present just thinking about the things in front of me rather than all of those things. So I think it's helpful for any human, but especially it's developmentally appropriate for us to put that on kids.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's really changed everything, hasn't it? I mean, having cell phones and you can, like you said, if you got things going on in life, it's so easy to try to pull it out and email quickly or text. And it's just, it's to be something that it was supposed to really cause us more, I guess, ease of life. It can get us into trouble a lot of times when we're trying to be paying attention. But
I think even like you said, the email thing, I've even talking to some of the veteran teachers who have been here for decades, they're like, more people have access to me at more amounts of time than ever before. I am required to do so much more now because of technology, which in some cases can be good. But I think, especially with email, there's just so much. Anybody can ask them to do anything at any point in time. It's just crazy. So I think, honestly, I almost the other day took my school email off of my phone. Like, this is just I need to separate this somehow, because there's just so many things going on at so many times.
And you
Yeah.
And you get that, even if you get an alert that you kind of get, there's something about that psychologically that you go, oh, I just want to see what that's about and answer it. But, it's, yeah, I could see that. Taking it off, it does remove some of that temptation, I guess, to try to work on that. Do you wish more people going back to the local thing, do you wish more people got involved in local education and maybe school board or parents getting involved more? What do you see from like that side? Do you wish there was more involvement?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like leaving any restaurant review. The people that you hear from are the people who had an outstanding experience, whether positive or negative. So I think hearing more from people in that middle ground is always, always amazing. And I think more would get done in a positive sense if more people were even minimally involved and had a minimal voice in that realm. Parent involvement, but even just people who live in the community, it's super important. Especially in my area, we're rural, but as far as infrastructure goes, we have the education system, we have the jail, and then some fast food chains. It's not. If we're not getting involved in education, what else are we getting involved in?
Yeah.
I think that would be an absolute game changer, and we would not have a ton of the resource and funding issues that a lot of public school systems have, if that were the case.
Because there's a lot that goes into, I know teachers sometimes buy their own supplies, their own things that they need in class, and that's, it would help out, I think, if more people were able to, contribute to that and realize that it's hard for teachers to get everything they need supplies wise for teaching.
I think people want to, they want to help, but it's hard because even with things like a GoFundMe page, there's restrictions on that we can't use that particular thing because of like a tax write-off or something. The way that system works is it doesn't align with privacy laws or something of that nature. And for a lot of teachers, that's the way that they are able to pay for things. I know when I was student teaching, one of the STEM teachers, in order to go on this really cool field trip that they go on every year or get this cool thing that they use every year, they had to use GoFundMe. There was no other way of going about it. So if she wouldn't be able to do any of the things that she does had she been in maybe my district or a different district.
Wow.
So I think people want to help. It's just increasingly more difficult.
Yeah. And everybody's hurting right now. It's the economy. What's it like for you? With music class, are there a lot of things that you need or have to buy on your own for class, like over the summer purchase things?
I think I am, as a choir teacher, I'm more fortunate on that end. I think for instrumentalists, it does get a little sticky.
Yeah.
So my colleague, our band teacher, he also teaches our guitar class. So if he needs a new string right away, it's way easier for him to just go buy it than to wait for all the channels and have to fill out this paperwork and this paperwork and this paper. He's like, I might as well just go spend the money. Or
right.
If I want my room to not look like I don't have any windows, so to not look like a prison community room, then I'm going out and paying for those posters.
Yeah.
Or whatever, academic resources or visual aids to put in there. I'm making them or I'm buying them.
Yeah.
And I think public school teachers are particularly resourceful that we can figure out ways to do that. But yeah,
but sometimes you just end up eating the cost, right? You just it's out of your own pocket.
And we're kind of just used to it, and it's very normalized.
Yeah.
very normalized.
You don't even really think about it at the time. It's like just the way it is. You know, Trump has talked about getting rid of the education department, bringing it back to the states. What do you think about it? Do you think that's going to hurt or help, or what are your thoughts?
I think in Maryland, it won't make a huge difference. Just the leadership that we have here, and I feel very grateful for that. I know in a lot of places, though, that's going to be hurtful to watch happen, and for the people living there to experience. On the end of education, but even on the end of student loans, it's all going to get privatized, and it's all going to get kind of pushed off to like somebody who's individually gaining from that. So I think that's going to be really very hurtful.
So you think without an overall federal system, things are going to get lost in the shuffle when it gets down to the state level, and there's going to be more corruption?
I would say depending on where you live, it could be a make or break for the way. Yeah, it could make or break where you live.
It sounds good on paper if it goes to the states and like we're getting rid of some, I guess, bloating of the government. But then I guess if you look at ground zero, how that's going to affect people, that's what you really have to look at to see how, kids are affected and teachers too.
100%. Like I said, there's states in my mind that I know people who are from or who work there that if they weren't required to teach this thing, or if they weren't required to distribute funds in this way, that it probably wouldn't happen, which is really, really unfortunate.
It is. It really is. I mean, it's heartbreaking when you think of some of those things going on, because it's some of those things people don't really know, and it's just when you do find out about them, you're shocked. Like, oh, that goes on. That's the kind of thing that's happening. Well, I guess we'll wait and see on that. I don't know if that's going to be something that he's going to be able to do, or I guess it may take a little bit to weed through that. But
I hope not, and I hope Checks and Balances does his job.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's what they're there for. Supposed to be, right?
Hopefully.
Can you think back and remember? Did you always want to be a teacher, or what was the time that you decided that you wanted to go down that path?
No. So actually, my older sister and I were joking about this the other day. I went through a ton of phases. When I was a kid, like when I was in elementary school, I wanted to be like a computer scientist for NASA.
Wow.
And then in middle school, I changed it and I wanted to be a detective. And then in high school, I was like, no, I'm going to be a lawyer. And I'm pretty sure about that. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be a lawyer. And I think I would have been successful in that. But what made me take the switch, it wasn't a great situation. My choir teacher, he was all over the place, but he would have me teach the class sometimes. So like if he was out, we had a substitute, which God bless you substitutes. We love you so much. Please, please, we need more of you. But obviously people coming in don't have a music degree, or they don't know how to run a choir rehearsal. So he would have me do it. I was a junior and senior in high school. And I really enjoyed it. I found that I was pretty good at it. And the more I did it, the more I got to see that I fell in love with the process of taking what it sounded like an hour and a half ago and transforming it into what it has become now, and just that community and all of us. It's something that we all get to love and do. That's in the scheme of capitalism is unproductive. And I fell in love with that and how primal that experience is. And I just knew that this is what I got to be doing.
And it's something about that group, right? Kind of like you said, changing it from like one point, you're okay, it sounds like this, but then as you get better and progress, it's got to be a great feeling.
Amazing feeling.
Do you, in college and after, did you want to pursue music? Do you have a background in that, or in choir or singing, or?
Yeah, so I grew up in a very musical family. My whole both my mom and dad are from the South. My dad's from Alabama. My mom's from Southern Virginia. I'm like the Norfolk area. So it's grew up on Southern gospel, bluegrass, anything that had to do with the church choir we were listening to. I didn't learn how to read sheet music until a little later on, but everything that we did was by ear. It was me, my mom, and my sisters who would always sing in church. My mom would sing the melody. All right, Abby, you sing the low harmony. Haley, you sing the melody with me, and Mac, you sing the high harmony, or something like that. And I was 7, 8 years old, learning how to do that. Or we would be just in the kitchen, and somebody would start humming something. Somebody would join in a couple lines later. Somebody else would join in on this harmony a couple lines later. Somebody would start beating the table, adding a little drum part. So music to me, it wasn't this on stage concert thing. It was just it wasn't for anybody. It was just for the people who participated in it. And I think that realizing that wasn't everybody's experience, like when I went to college, it was like, oh, that's one, I feel very lucky that I had that, but two, that I felt that truly that's what music was intended to be for human beings in general. Before arithmetic and language and paperwork and government systems, and that's what music was intended for, especially singing. So I think once I locked in on that's really what it's supposed to be, I've really channeled that into how I teach, and I think my students have really responded to that, and really ultimately it's made the product much better. Just because it's real.
Yeah, it's really like it's early on. It's like storytelling, right? It's really that's kind of one of the earliest forms, I think, of storytelling, being able to draw people together.
Storytelling, passing things on from generation to generation. But like I said, it's not. It wasn't intended to be put on a stage just for someone to sit down, shut up, and listen to. That was never what it was intended to be. Do I think it's cool that we get to do that? Yeah, but just that process of just enjoying it because just we're together. It's being able to channel that and see my high schoolers even then start to experience that is super cool.
So you're saying you prefer the rawness of like getting together and everybody kind of chiming in. Do you opposed to like overproduced music now? What's your thought on that? I'm sure you don't really care for like overly produced, right? You like people in just natural, kind of raw.
I do. I enjoy that natural raw sound. Even like, I'm not a huge fan of country music, but like that pop country, but like the Appalachian sound, can't get enough of it. It's like Tyler Childers, Sierra Farrell, just that raw mountain, front porch, sweet tea, banjo, fiddle sound is just incredible. But I think even like with that being said, I think there's a lot of technique and skill and talent that goes into producing music that even when it's overproduced, you have to have some of that raw God-given talent and built up skill over time to be able to create a product like that. So I wouldn't say I don't like it.
Yeah, it's just a different form.
It is very different. You have to be able to appreciate both.
What's your thought on singing competition shows? What do you think about that?
I think they're cool. I don't know. I think I know people who have gone through that process who are amazing singers who didn't even get past like the first round.
Really?
So I think there's they're putting on a show for you.
Yeah.
For sure. But honestly, whatever keeps people singing, whatever keeps people interested in performing and people getting their names out there, I am all for it. And it also allows you to see like those celebrities coming in. It allows you to see, and especially on things like The Voice, with those like, you're watching them give lessons to those people. You get to see their process and that, okay, singing is singing, but also there's a lot of thoughtfulness that goes into those micro decisions that are happening while you're singing. So I think any opportunity to show people what's possible, I'm all for.
That's what's amazed me too. I think watching those shows, like you said, the micro points that the choices they make in different styles of singing, and what is that? I guess that goes on to like your voice as an instrument, right? You can do different things with it. You can make different choices as you sing a song.
Yeah, I that's especially in terms of improvisation. We've been working a lot of with that in the past couple weeks, doing that every day. It just opening them up to, it's not just the copy paste model that we're used to. It's not just, oh, I get this piece of sheet music and all right, now I'm singing exactly this. It's no, I can take this and make it whatever I want it to be.
Yeah.
Even a song that I hear, excuse me, even a song that I hear on the radio, that's the basis. I can do whatever I want with that at this point. And even getting to compare Jolene by Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
All right, let's listen to that. All right, now let's listen to Miley Cyrus's version. All right, now let's listen to the Beyonce's version of it. That's the same song, but 3 completely different messages.
Sure.
Let's talk about it. What was put in, not just the lyrical changes. How did they perform this that made you completely sold on each of their individual messages? So getting to talk about music even in that way has been really fun for me personally, but also to see them see the possibilities of what music can be.
Yeah. And that's the artistry, right? I mean, if taking a song and making it your own, that's where you become the artist of the, yeah. What do the kids think about that when you talk about those kind of things, and then the history of music, and do you see them really getting interested in that part as well? So it's not just class where you come in and you sing, you're actually learning about the history, the little details that go into singing different styles.
They really get into it. And I think it's allowed them to get into the performance aspect of it more as well, because they feel part of something, and that it applies to them. They're not just one tiny little speck in a grand whatever. They are an active member in all these things, especially right now. We've been talking about in my foundations of music class, like music appreciation. We've been talking about the origins of rap and hip hop, and they've really gotten to see themselves in these stories. And I'm not even talking about racially. I'm saying some of my kids. I work at a Title I school. A lot of my kids don't know where their next meal is coming from. The highlight of their day, and the most kindness that they get to experience is at school, are the most air conditioned area that they could be in, and that's at school. So I've got to watch them see themselves in other people's story, and get to have those conversations of, you can really make your life whatever you want it to be. You're going to have some more obstacles that we have to get creative about. But as far as your choices, whatever you're the most passionate about, let's talk about that. Let's see what we can do with that to where you could be successful, but more importantly, happy.
Yeah.
I think, and they weren't really keen on bucket drumming before in our rhythm unit, but now they're like, oh, I could actually make something with this. We've been using Soundtrap a ton, just so we can actually make our own music. That's been really awesome. But yeah, I think just learning about other people and their stories and how music helped them out, but also using it as an outlet, as a form of expression, but more importantly, how they use it to connect to other people.
Yeah.
That's been really, really crucial for them.
Wow. That's great. I mean, it gives them something. I mean, you never know, the kids that you're teaching now, I mean, they could look back on that and go, that's the moment that sort of changed my life, changed direction I wanted to go down. I know you're humble and you probably don't want to think about that like that, but I mean, I'm sure there are going to be kids who are going to say, I remember that class and what we learned. And I really fell in love with bucket drum and percussion, Hey,
maybe. You never know. They were really not keen on it at first. It was
they got onto it.
Now they have. At first, you would have thought I was asking them to jump off a cliff.
Yeah.
with like a clown suit on. That you, oh my goodness, so funny. They were. Of course you have those one or two kids that they're just excited to hit something. They're
Exactly.
just gonna make noise. But I think even as that classroom community is built, they're way more into, no, I can make noise and it's okay. I can take up space and it's okay.
I would assume that like your class is unique also in that they all have to come together in order to make something beautiful. I mean, it's not everybody's sitting at their desk and they're working individually. Your class brings them all together and it teaches them how to work together toward a common goal.
That's been honestly difficult that they're just not used to that. I get a lot of new to choir kids as well. Especially freshmen coming in, they're just thrown into whatever because they need to have an arts credit. Especially if you're used to the system of, okay, I sit down, I shut up, they tell me what to know, they tell me what to do, and then I just do it and I submit it, and then hopefully I get an A. I think that's been a huge point of contention between me and them. And some of them is just like, they would honestly, last year we had a songwriting unit, or like a little songwriting project at the end of the year. And it was after all of our concerts, all of our stuff. And they got into groups and they were to write a song and, record it, submit it. And of course we had like little check marks along the way. But I had a girl who came up to me and was genuinely like, can I please just write a 10-page paper? Like that actually sounded more, she was way more comfortable writing a paper than possibly making a couple things rhyme and making a 1.5-minute song.
Wow.
Yeah, she just, the self-expression aspect of things just doesn't get talked about a ton.
Yeah.
And her song ended up being fine. And I think she still, to this day, would just rather write a 10-page paper. I think some people are just like that.
Yeah.
But for the rest of them, I have a girl who's not in chorus anymore, but she still comes to me with like, guess what I just wrote? Guess what I wrote last night?
Oh, wow.
That's great. That's really, if what I can do in class inspires them to show stimulating that process for them, initiating that process for them. That's my ultimate goal.
What do you think it was with her that frightened her so much about writing, expressing herself?
I think she's just really smart. She's really book smart. So she is just, she's a junior in high school now. I think she's just used to, I'd rather just stick to myself and be a bookworm. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard for some kids to express their emotions and express themselves. It's hard for adults. So I can imagine what, for a kid that's going through it in high school, because it's tough. High school's tough.
Yeah. I just don't really think we set that up for success though in kids. We don't really initiate the creativity aspect. We kind of just, from a young age are like, no, this is what you know, this is what you do. And then as for the rest, I don't know, go do that at home or whatever. So when we really harp on those specific ways to do things, or especially in the sense of this is productive or unproductive, I think that does affect us and what we are or are not comfortable with.
That's true. Very true. You mentioned happiness a minute ago. What is it about teaching that makes you fulfilled and makes you happy? Why do you do it?
There's nothing like teaching. I think it's equally as frustrating sometimes. But in the sense of, like I said, just that process and getting to see them fall in love with something that I've loved all along is really incredible. And these kids, man, like they've just taught me so much about life and really how to love each other and how to have a community. And I feel like I learned more from them than they could ever learn from me. But it is cool to see that how I wanted my community and how I've cultivated that community, getting to see them be friends with people that they otherwise wouldn't have been friends with. There's one girl that she's in my choir room all the time. Every chance she gets, she wants to be in the choir room. At first, she did not want to take choir. at all. She got thrown into a theater class. She did not want to take it. But she liked me as a teacher. So, I heard her sing randomly one day, and I was like, hey, so you're doing choir next year. She was like, please don't make me do it. I'm like, well, sucks to suck. But now she is scratching at any opportunity to sing in a choir, she joined color guard and marching band. She like any opportunity to be with these people and to participate in music in some way. Stuff like that is like, oh, I made a difference, like a huge difference in your life. There's nothing like that. I would not be able to see that if I worked behind a desk. I would not be able to see that if in really any other job. And I think that's so cool.
It's got to be, especially for you in music and choral, to see a kid fall in love with music. I mean, what's that like? There's nothing like it. I remember a kid, I had him when I first came in. He was a sophomore. By the time he graduated, he passed me a note. I knew he hated choir. He did not want to be there. He just took it because he thought it would be an easy A for his fine arts credit or his GPA or whatever. He did not want to take it. He was an art kid, but like the arts classes were all filled up. So he was like, whatever, I'll just take choir. By the time he was graduating, passed me a note. It was like May. I think it's for like Teacher Appreciation Week. And he was like, I really hated this class. And honestly, I hated you at first. He was like, you were way too into it, and you required me to be myself. And like really think inward and think about the people that I hung around and think about my environment and think about what I wanted for my life. And I hated that. But now I want to go to school. I want to make music for the rest of my life. It's like, I started a group and we're going to start writing and recording music. And I cannot thank you enough, because without you, I would not have even thought that this is what I wanted to do. Wow.
Right. Like, and he was just not on my radar of what I thought, of who I thought was, oh yeah, they're going to go make me, those kids of like, it's like the band kids, the choir kids who are always around. And you think, oh yeah, they might go to school for music. They might do whatever. But I made an impact on somebody that I didn't even know I was. And for it to be that big and to desire truly to become a lifelong active participant in music, the best.
Wow. What I think is interesting about that is he said he looked inward and looked at himself and what he wanted. So that gives you that's a whole nother level of what music can do, and to look inward, look at yourself, express yourself.
There's nothing like it. I think art can do the same thing. Really, art in general, it forces you to think about things in a different way, which I think is one of the huge reasons why it's so important to maintain in schools. But even then, he just, the community aspect, it was just so unexpected for him we don't teach them to look inward. We teach them to find what makes the most money and do that. Figure out, okay, what has your family done for these amount of generations? Go do that. What are you generally interested in? Okay, go do that. But we don't really have them look inward of, what do you really want? How do you want to feel? How do you want to make an impact on people? And how do you want people to have an impact on you?
Right.
I think that's honestly the most important question. Those are the most important questions you could ask yourself, of what you want to do and how you want to be. And just live your life.
Are we failing kids, do you think, in that way, where we're not teaching that? We like you said, you're exactly right. Where kids are just coming out and seeing what jobs make the most money. What have my parents done? Kids need to self-reflect more, I think, and figure out what does make them happy, or what could they see themselves doing that could make them happy.
I don't know if we're failing them. I just think there is a lack of understanding, even from most adults, of what's possible and what can make money and what can make you be able to own a home.
Yeah.
Even now, I'm hearing about jobs on LinkedIn, and I'm like, that's a job. I had no idea. That's so cool. But I think the ones that we push to kids are like cop, nurse, teacher, like the main like helping professions.
Yeah.
I'll just go for business and then I'll figure it out, or I'll just go for this, because everything is so based on money. They just assume that, if I go for business, then I'll like figure it out eventually, without even considering that something like music or something like art or something like graphic design or something like video games could actually make them money. I go to Berkeley. They have an entire video game music degree.
Wow.
And that's just the fact that even exists.
Yeah.
And you never think that like, oh, yeah, someone had to go and make that. Someone had to go and write that music and record it and do all that stuff. But we're not think to like look around us and be like, oh, somebody had to actually make that. These posters, someone had to go and make that. Somebody, the movie that I'm watching and loving, somebody had to both write the music, record the music, program it in a certain way, edit the film to align with the music. Okay, if they're bringing in other people's music, deal with copyright or align that film. There's just so many things that we don't think about that are real, very good paying jobs.
Yeah. It's you got to think outside the box. I think I'm a big believer in that, and figure out, don't go the mainstream, but maybe there's something else, out here outside the box that you can do, that, or create your own, create your own path, create your own job. If it's in demand, it's going to pay, that's always going to come. But I think the key too is, like you said, you've got to enjoy it. You've got to see yourself doing that for the rest of your life. It's something that's got to keep your interest and keep you happy. And I know happiness is a variable. I mean, it's going to be some days where you're not happy, and a lot of those days. But your job, I think, if you have something that you really love and it's a passion, I think that can help you along the way, kind of get through crazy life.
Yeah, and I think kids now, even in the conversation of like the attention span thing, I think kids they see that, okay, my parents work this many jobs and they're still struggling to make ends meet. What's even the point?
Yeah.
Or what's the point of like dreaming about what I want to do for the rest of my life if regardless I don't even know if I can support a family. I don't even know if I can own a home. And I think they see that, and that's what's caused a lot of the, I don't want to say apathy, but there's just like all right, whatever.
I think it's like, settling, they settle for what, instead of, I
mean, they kind of have to, or else it's going to make them really sad for a lot of parts of their life. They are so used to going with the flow in a way that's not chill. It's in a way that's like, if I think about that, it's going to make me very upset. If I really think about that situation, it's going to ruin my day. So I just can't.
Yeah.
I have to live in a state of delusion to maintain my composure.
Block it out the best you can Well, I know you're extremely happy in what you do, and you're obviously, it's your calling, because I can tell just by talking to you, it's what you love to do. What keeps you going, getting out of bed every morning when life gets tough, or maybe, you have those tough days where I'm sure you have days where you think, oh, what am I doing? Or, but those come and go. But ultimately, what is it that keeps you getting out of bed every morning?
I love it. I couldn't imagine getting to sing. I mean, this is a wild generalization about my job, but getting to just sing every day and make music every day with other people and get to talk about my favorite musicians and like the history of like why my favorite musician got to where they are, or who influenced them, or again, a vast overgeneralization.
Sure.
But the concept of that is amazing. And even if nobody else, oh my God, in Foundations of Music this morning, I was talking about Kool Herc. He's one of like the founding fathers of hip hop and rap, and hip hop, rap came a little later, but I was getting so excited talking about him, and then Grandmaster Flash and all these people, and they were like, all right, like we got it. Just getting to talk about something that I personally enjoy, that's great. And if they don't like it, whatever.
Right.
That's fine. I'm not here for you.
Right.
Oh, I'm literally here for them. But
do you ever look around and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting paid for this"?
Yes. I wrote an arrangement of Godspeed by Frank Ocean for my kids coming up in March, I think. And I really, I was writing it on like a Saturday. But when thinking, so I wasn't getting paid technically to do it, but I was in the grand scheme of things, I was like, I'm like doing this for my job. Like I get to, and like I'm writing this, but then I get to see what the final product is going to be like in real time. That's my job.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Or like I did an arrangement of Lizzie McAlpine's Ceilings. That was really fun for my treble group, and like she even saw it and like commented on it, and getting to show my kids like, hey, I told you were good. That there's nothing else like that.
Yeah, no, you can't get that. You can't get that with hardly anything else. I mean, art brings you so much joy like that. I mean, that's. Yeah, it's magic. I mean, it really is. I mean, that may sound corny, but it really is like a feeling of like, wow. And to bring that to kids in school is just an extra layer on top of the cake.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Well, you're great. I love talking to you. I think you're doing great things there. You're awesome. Thank you so much. Where can people find you online if people want to check out your social media with your class?
Yeah, absolutely. It's at Mak Barton, MakBarton on everything. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I do some like album reviews there. I'm everywhere. Nice.
All right, Mak, well, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Happiness Sold Separately is created and hosted by Jason Hensley and is produced by Makash Films. Music by Soundstripe. Narration by Lauren Gobis. If you or someone you know is in crisis and needs immediate help, call the National Mental Health Hotline at 866-903-3787. We would be honored if you would rate, share, and subscribe. From the entire Happiness Sold Separately team, thank you for listening.